Very, very.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing?
Hi, Rabbi.
Hello. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. So, Yaakov Avinu here at the very end of the book of Bereshit, the final, in the sense, we are here at the end of an era, the closing, the culmination of an era of the original great figures that established the path of the world, because we started with Adam and Eve and Cain and Hevel and then Noah, etc., but also very specifically the path of the Jewish people, right? And we focused on one family, the Abramowitz family, right? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov's, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And here we're at the culmination. Vayechi Yaakov, and Yaakov lived. This was the moment that he actually lived, because he's surrounded by his children, each one of them ready to step into their role. And so, surprisingly, even though that Yaakov was in exile, or not exile so much as in the diaspora, and knowing that he was staring down the barrel of 210 years of his children being here, still, this is the place where he was able finally to live, because he saw the fruition of all his efforts. Every last one of his children, a solid
Hi, Monkey.
and strong personality ready to take on their particular role. And this is why the Torah highlights verbatim the brachot that Yaakov gives to each of his children, giving them not some just generalistic blessings, but very specific blessings. Each one gets a very unique and specific blessing. And I'm calling them all brachot because that is how we refer to this. Jewish tradition has always referred to it as the blessings of Yaakov, even though that we look at the first three and they're decidedly not positive, right?
Yeah.
So how can you call them blessings? And the answer is we should have called them the messages, if you will, or his parting words. But we call them blessings. Birkot Yaakov, the brachot. And that is because, as we once talked about, even when it came to the Tochacha, right, to the curses that come at the end of the Torah. It says that the second Chabad Rebbe, when he was a boy, would hear these every year from his father, who was the Alter Rebbe, and he was the Torah reader. And one year the Alter Rebbe was out of town, and a substitute Torah reader came and read, and the boy was so distressed upon hearing the horrific words of the Tochacha that it had an effect on his physical health. And when they asked him, "Why are you so affected? You hear this every year." He says, "Yes, but every year I hear from my father, and when my father reads it, all I hear is blessings."
Keepers.
And the point is, look, the words are the words, and the words are incredibly horrible when you go into that section of the Torah. So what do you mean that? What does he mean when he said they're blessings? Is, again, this is not, the rabbis were not prone to engaging in hyperbole and exaggeration. So what does he mean when he's saying all I hear are blessings? He says because when somebody issues a dire warning, they could either be a threat or it could be a warning from a place of love. I often refer to the fact that when they used to be on the New Jersey Turnpike right by the toll plaza, where all the 16 lanes then kind of came back into the two lanes that were going to be the length of the turnpike. So there's all this extra space as the lanes kind of come merging together. In the middle of them sat this concrete pedestal and this totally mangled up car that would look really at that point burnt out, just the frame, the skeleton of the car, all mangled up to almost look like a ball. And it said under it, "Don't drink and drive." And obviously it shocks your senses. This is what happened to this vehicle because of a drunk driver, and it really is quite a dire picture that is painted. And is it because the transit authority or whoever runs the New Jersey Turnpike that put it in place hates all their drivers and wants to give them nightmares? No, I want to say the opposite. They care about the drivers, they care about their well-being, and they're putting up this horrific site so that they, as a warning, so to protect against. So if anything, they are not issuing a threat as much as they are showing their caring and asking you to please be careful. And when the Alter Rebbe would read the Torah, that would come across that God is not so much threatening, But he's saying, please heed my warning so the consequences don't have to happen. I can give you the good stuff, and the bad stuff can remain just as words. And that's how his son understood it. He heard the words, and the words were horrific, but he heard them as a father, a caring father, issuing warnings and, in a sense, regulatory words to the Jewish people. And this is Yaakov Avinu as well. In the times where he is issuing kind of harsh words, they're not simply to punish and to read the riot act to his children, but rather to tell them, guide them, and say, this you need to fix. And that is why you'll see interwoven, even in the difficult words, are messages, are positive messages, almost saying, if only you can do this, then that. So let's start. So it says that Yaakov gathered them around and says, Hey, come and gather around, and I will tell you what will be at the end of days. And the commentaries say, what does that mean? Because he then doesn't go on to give a discussion about the end of days. It says, Yaakov legalos esakates. Yaakov wanted to reveal when Mashiach would come. What's the end game? When is the end game? And because it was not meant to be revealed, the Shechina left him at that moment.
Right.
The divine presence, the prophetic vision left him at that moment, and he thought originally maybe it's because as my kids gathered around, there are those that are not worthy in the divine presence, therefore did not stay here. And so he says maybe Shamiyesh Bachem Psul, maybe one among you is not kosher. So they all turned and they declared the most famous line in Judaism. This is the moment that God invented. They said, "Hear our Father Israel. The Lord is our God. The Lord is one." We all declare this statement, "Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad." To which Yaakov was so grateful to hear that every last one of his children are holding in this place, that he said the long form of Baruch Hashem, of which is, anybody know the longest form of that? Baruch Shem Kavod. And that is how I found it. But in the meantime, he realized it's not meant to be to declare when is going to be the end of the days. So rather, he gathered his children around and gave them each the tools they would need to achieve the end of days, and hence the blessings. And so here we begin. Reuven bechori ata. Reuven, you are my firstborn. Kochi v'reshit oni, and therefore you are given the first of my strength and my virility. Yeta se'et v'yeta oz, you have been given the greater capacity and the greater magnitude, which translates, as the commentaries say, you are given the opportunity to be both the priesthood and the majesty. To be both, as we know, that the priests originally were meant to be the firstborns, right? Which would have been Reuven's lot. So you, as the firstborn, my firstborn of all my wives, were meant to share, to shoulder the burden and the merit, the responsibility and the merit, the zechut and the achrayut of having the double portion, as it were, of leadership, to lead in priesthood, to lead in spirituality, and to lead in kingship. And that was meant to be you. But pachas kamayim al tosar ki alisa mishkavei avicha az chilalta yitzui Allah. But unfortunately, you displayed water-like impetuosity, wishy-washy, and kind of all over the place. You were all over the place. Sometimes very strong, sometimes very weak. Sometimes displaying leadership qualities. Sometimes they see the thing about water is that water takes on the form of any vessel that it is in. It doesn't have its own character. And what does it taste like? Anything and nothing. It says, Reuven, you were not able to be pinned down. You didn't have, and because of that, there you were unpredictable. There were times where you were the person I could count on, and there's times that you did things that were totally out of line. For example, when you switched the beds, as he says, "Al schilati yitzui Allah," when Rachel passed away, and I then put Bilhah's bed in my tent. You took the initiative without consulting me to switch out Bilhah's bed and put it in your own mother's, which was not your place. And so in that case, you went above your station, as it were, above your responsibility, above your place. And then there are times that you were beneath your place. You should have done more than you did. And for example, taking charge at the moment of when the brothers were selling Yosef, were planning to kill Yosef, instead of saving him outright and proudly and blatantly taking the leadership there, what you did instead is you kind of you had a plot to save him, but you should have led rather than engaged in quiet subterfuge. He says, let's not kill him, let's put him in a pit, and his plan, as the Torah tells us, to come back and get him. So he's like saying, yeah, I was planning on saving him, but you're the leader. If you're going to save him, and direct your brothers to do so. Stand up, this is the role, so you're like water, you're all over the place. And therefore, Ruvain, the firstborn birthright, is no longer yours. Having said that, with this, he's also telling Ruvain, you do have the strength. Here's what you need to fix. You are blessed with more strength than the rest of your brothers, but you have also issues. It's not easy to be the leader. It is very hard. It's very difficult. But for your sake, I'm going to call him like I see him rather than just say, oh, everything's hunky-dory and wonderful. Rather, I'm going to tell you what you need to do to really achieve your fullest potential. And with that, he turns on that note of people with tremendous potential but are not yet living up to it. Shimon the Levi Ach. Shimon and Levi are brothers, two closer brothers one couldn't find. So powerful, so strong. But Klei Chamas, but their tools turn out to be tools of war and tools of violence.
Violence, right?
So we're done with Ruvain?
Yes, as I said, again, we're going to be criminally short with each one because
I understand.
Yes, but Shimon and Levi are brothers. That unity, they feed off each other, and there's an interesting thing that it says. I don't know if this is upheld in physics, but it's a quote in Talmud, and if it doesn't work in the laws of physics, it definitely works philosophically. It says that two people combined can lift together more than the total of what they would be able to lift individually. So if this guy can lift 100 pounds and this guy can lift 100 pounds, and together they can lift more than 200 pounds because the shearing of their assets, the sharing of their strengths, et cetera, produces something that's even greater than the sum total of each of what they have individually. And he says, so these, you get it, Shimon and Levi. You are feeding off each other and you're making each other greater than you otherwise were. But right now you're using that in the wrong direction. And so therefore, in your secret plans and in your, in a sense, collaborations, I cannot be there right now.
Hello again. Yes, we received the document correct. But I have to tell you that
what do we hear?
security
Somebody's got background noise.
Not me.
Yeah, okay. But I just right now muted them. Okay. So it says in their collaborations and in their plans, I cannot reside. My countenance cannot be there. Why? Because kiba arpam hargu ish. Because in their anger they killed them the man and Uvitzonam, and in their deliberate acts, Ikru Shor, they uprooted the ox. So what is in their anger, they killed the man being the royal leader of the town called Shechem,
Shem.
right? And in their deliberate effort, they uprooted the ox. They were the two that planned um, the the uprooting of Yosef, removing Yosef from the scene, who we will see soon, is referred to as the ox. So you have the strength, you have the power, but you allow your anger and your rage to overcome your better judgment. In other words, your passion is good and your collaboration is amazing, except that your passion is currently unregulated. And that's what he says. Arur arpam ki az. Cursed is your anger because it is too powerful. Vevratam ki kashata. And your rage because it is hard and callous and unfeeling. Ahalkem bi'Yaakov vafitzim b'Yisrael. I will divide you among Jacob and I will spread you in Israel. In other words, like we know a lot of times, you are egging each other on, right? The two of you together is bad news. In this case, your collaboration is a net deficit rather than an asset, and that is unfortunate. And therefore, it says, not only will I separate the two of you, but I will separate because you have mastered feeding off the energy of each other, even within yourselves, even within your own tribes. And so Levi eventually become the priests, and they don't own land. Therefore, they're not, in a sense, in a cohesive territory among the Jewish people. And Shimon become the Malamdei Tinokot. They become like the teachers of the youngsters and traveling. Their livelihood will come from traveling. So the two of these tribes will not, in a sense, maintain their cohesion, so as to not draw on the negative of one another, but rather to take that power that they have and share it with the greater whole. Don't become, family that are very close to each other can become inclusive and therefore exclusive. They can become just about themselves. And he's saying, share that ability to connect, not just within your tribes or within each other, but rather with everybody. Levi, connect with and that's why, in the cases of those that are killed by accident or whatever it is, they run to the city of refuge to come under the wings. And where are these cities of refuge? These are the cities of the Levites. So they can come under the wings of the Levites. The Levites will care for them. So Shimon and Levi, the punishment, as it were, is actually a way to best manifest your talents, your innate positive traits, and to, in a sense, shift you away from your potential negatives. So that is Shimon and Levi following Reuven. So what does it say? It says that Yehuda hears how the first three go, and he starts backing away. Literally, it says, I'll read the Rashi. The Fisha Ochiach Atarishonim, because Yaakov rebuked and admonished the first ones with harsh terms, Hiskal Yehuda Nasal Glachorav. Yehuda started to back away.
Does Rashi use the word tochacha?
Yeah, Shalo Yochichenu Amasa Tamar, so that he shouldn't be rebuked about the incident of Tamar. All of a sudden, and Yehuda then calls him Yehuda. He calls him Ata Yeducha Achecha. He calls him close. He says, Yehuda, your humility is your strength. Your humbleness, your ability to hold yourself accountable is actually your strength. The fact, in fact, that you are actively backing away, believing that you are not deserving of blessing, even though you have already gone through the rehabilitative process and the recompense and taking responsibility, that is your asset. That is your greatest asset. And therefore, among your peers, you will be raised up, and yadcha ba'oref ovecha, your hand will be upon the neck of your enemy. That, in other words, that's not meekness, right? We said meekness is not an asset, but humbleness. We said, as I said and shared with you, meekness is arrogance. I am uncomfortable. Humbleness is it's not about me, but it's about what needs to be done, which is what Yehuda is and who Yehuda is. And it says, and that is strength. So not only will that quality be appreciated by your siblings, by your brethren, but yadcha ba'oref, your hand will be on the neck of your enemy. There will also be something that will give you strength to overpower your enemies. And the children of your father will bow to you. He's here handing over to Yehuda that one slice that had been removed from Reuven, the kingship he gives to Yehuda. Gur Aryeh Yehuda, right? You will be like a lion cub, miteref b'nei Elisa, that will rise up. Kara ravat ka'aryeh chalavi miyikimenu. You will be ready to pounce like a young lion and like a full-grown lion who will be able to stand against you. Right? The vigor of youth as well as the strength of seniority will all stand by. Stand by. We know there are certain people that are particularly powerful in their youth, but then when they become older, they lose it. They lose their ability to govern, to rule, to lead. And certain people the opposite. And the young, they're in no position to do so. And when they get older, they finally come to it. And here the promise is that Yehuda, from being a young lion cub to a fully grown and senior lion, you will always maintain that ability. The seat of authority will never be removed from Yehuda. Ad ki yavo Shiloh, all the way until Shiloh comes, a reference to Mashiach right here. Below Yikat Amim, and all the nations will assemble around him. Kings from Yehuda will not only be a beacon and a point of assembly for the Jewish people, but they will become, as we saw in the days of Shlomo HaMelech, which was the iconic of the king, they will assemble to him. King David had to go and fight the battles. And Shlomo HaMelech had those, V'naharu elav kol hagoyim, all the nations of the world streamed to him. And this is, and Yaakov is saying that will be one of your features. That will not be just Shlomo HaMelech, but the line, the Davidic line, will be one where the nations of the world will come streaming towards. And because of this, because of your rulership role, abundance for you spells abundance for everybody. Osri lagefini yiro, masaraka b'niyaso no, kibes b'yayin levushov adama navim suso. He says, your vineyards will be so plentiful that it will be filling up in a sense, the backs of the beasts of burden. There will be so much to take that you will almost wash your garments in wine. There's a lot to be said on this one, the reference to wine, but again, we have to keep this short. Your eyes will be reddened with the wine that you will drink, and your teeth will be whitened from the milk that you will drink. You will have everything that you need, as well as everything that you don't need, but the extras. Milk is necessary, basic sustenance. Wine is obviously bonus royalty. You will have an abundance of it all. And this is not just for you, but because of your leadership role, because if there's going to be one tribe that we can count on, that the abundance for them will be abundance for all, will be the tribe of Yehuda.
The Yehudim. So
Right.
Yaakov doesn't say anything bad to Yehuda,
Nope.
even though
Nope.
he was the one who
Why?
humbly stepped back.
Because that's the point. He's only saying harsh words to Reuven, Shimon, and Levi because they still have work to do. Yehuda had done his teshuvah, so why? I don't have to sit there and dredge up lowlights of the past just to beat you over the head with it. I'm bringing it up if it's necessary to bring up. Yehuda, you've done your teshuvah, and so therefore I don't have to look backward with you. Zevulun l'chof yamin yishkon v'hu l'chof aniyot v'yachaso al tzidon. Zvulun, you will dwell by the seashore, right? You will be at the ship's port, and your boundary will be to the city of Tzidon. Now, this is who Zvulun is. Why the seaport and the ships, etc. And this becomes the iconography of Zvulun, because Zvulun will be the business people, pragmatia, right? Import, export. Zvulun will be those in charge of the import, export. This sounds decidedly mundane and not holy.
No.
Aha, very good. Which leads to the next thing. Yisachar, Hamor, Garem, Rovetz, Bein HaMishpatayim. And Yisachar is the partner. Zvulun and Yisachar have this beautiful partnership because Yisachar will be the strong-boned donkey carrying the load. Vayam and Uchakatov, that recognizes and sees tranquility as good, and the land, and the pleasantness of the land, and he will put his shoulder down to carry the yoke, and will pay his dues in his work. What is all this? The greatest burden of all we know is the burden of Torah.
Torah study.
Torah is the most significant taskmaster. It demands the most of you because there is no end to the learning that needs to be done. There's no end to the burden that one has to bear. And the burden, like the burden of the donkey, is not just the burden for you, it's a burden for everybody else. When you learn Torah, that's not just your own personal asset. You have a responsibility to share it with others, to carry the load of others, as is a beast of burden. Yisachar, you've taken and you have voluntarily lowered your shoulder to take on this burden. Now the thing is, because you're committed to this, then
You're gonna make money.
spiritually, who takes care of your physical needs? That's where Zvulun steps in. The partnership of Yisachar and Zvulun. And guess who gets mentioned first? Zvulun gets mentioned first. Even though one could say they have the more mundane side, they will support Yisachar, and Yisachar will share the spiritual bounty of being the scholars. Right? These are the Torah learners and the Torah supporters. But first in blessing goes to the Torah supporters. Because without that foundation, Yisachar can't learn. Right? That story of Rabbi Akiva and his wife, who gave up everything and sacrificed so her husband could learn Torah. Then when it came back and the whole town was out there to laud and sing the praises of Rabbi Akiva, and his wife was in rags and had shaven her head, and so she looked like just a street urchin, and so many were pushing her away. When Rabbi Akiva saw this, he immediately ran and he threw himself onto the ground in front of her and he kissed her feet, and he turned to all of them and said to his students, all my Torah and therefore all of your Torah is only because of this woman. So Zvulun, and the role that Zvulun plays is very significant in Yiddishkeit, and Yaakov Avinu recognizes it straight from the get-go.
Rabbi, if you were going to name a yeshiva, would you name one of those names? Would you name it Zvulun or Yisachar?
I don't know. Well, obviously, if of the two, I would call it both.
That's good.
And that's the
They
thing.
need
It's
one
their
another.
partnership. Yes,
They need one
because you
another.
don't have a Yisachar without a Zvulun, and you don't have a Zvulun without a Yisachar.
Perfect.
Dan yadin amo ka'achad shiftei Yisrael. Dan will avenge in a manner of justice. Will bring justice to his people as one of as representing the people as one. Yehi dan nachash ali derech shifon ali orach hanoshich
There's the
isus yipol
snake.
rachar. What?
There's the snake.
Yes.
I-
Dan will be a snake on the way, a serpent along the path who will bite the heels of the horse and cause its rider to fall backward. In other words, what's it saying here? Dan, you will have outsized strength. You'll be this little thing on the ground. Nobody will. And here is this rider on top of a horse standing 20, 30 times higher than you, and yet you will be able to bring them down. Who is this a reference to? Who came from the tribe of Dan that was a judge of the Jewish people and avenged them? Who is it that it says over here? Lishiwatcha kiviti Hashem, to your salvation I hope, O God. Who was Yaakov looking into the future and paraphrasing from the tribe of Dan? Shimshon, Samson.
Oh,
Samson, who brought down the entire Pelishtim, right? Avenging, and at that moment when his eyes were poked out and his hair was cut short and he was chained to the pillars of the Philistine palace, what does he say? Zachreni na v'chaskeni na achapam hazeh. God, remember me and give me the strength just this one time. And Yaakov Avinu is looking, in a sense, through history, forward in history through the eyes of Shlomo HaMelech. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to do this. We got through a lot, but not done. But I must go.
Oh, who?
Right. Here's what I will promise you. I will finish this, and I will share it, even if it's just me, myself in a room, doing a recording, and I will share it with everybody who is on the Zoom. I will give you the link to it, but I
Thank
do
you.
have to go.
Okay.
Thank you,
Oh,
Rabbi.
are we gonna do study on Shabbat morning before shul starts?
Yes.
Okay, great.
No
Thank you.
fair.
Come,
Yes,
come.
that's exactly right. Okay, everybody.
Bye
All the
bye.
best.
Travel
Bye.
safely.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.